This is why we don't want to fan the flames. That's a good point. When Biden was in office, when we were, down bad, that's one thing to, just be inflaming tensions, to just get more attention on the movement and the base and all that kind of stuff. Now things have shifted. Now we've got some shit to lose. Public opinion fucking matters. And this is not good for anything else that he wants to do, unless it's in direct, it's a direct plan in something. Dr. Virginia said, I don't like Trump and Harris even less. I'm only now getting mad at Trump because he's trying to force people like me to buy shitty American cars instead of better ones like Porsche. He's not forcing you. It's just going to be more expensive. Blame that on Europe. Get rid of all the tariffs, and then we're all good.
President Ronald Reagan, was well known for a sense of humor, and he was a Republican, a terrible president and a Republican, but he was entitled to a sense of humor.
Right, exactly, Dr. Virginius. Why do you think we added tariffs? Because they were tariffing us. So why are we going to let them tariff us and not tariff them back? Then the American car market goes up, and then all the prices come down. Blame it on Europe.
Known for a sense of humor, and he was a Republican, a terrible president and a Republican, but he was entitled to a sense of humor. But then he would clarify when things are joking. If Trump said, I'm going to run for a third term, and then said he was joking, I have a pretty wide sense of humor, and I'd be more permissible with that. But Trump never clarified.
No, you wouldn't.
He said he's joking, and he and his supporters take it.
He absolutely does. You're going to tell me that, I don't know, but you're going to tell me this dude didn't run along with the, I'm going to be a dictator just on day one. You didn't have any problem. You didn't say anything about that. All right, I didn't see it. I don't know who this guy is. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to assume that he got mad at the day one joke.
Actions which indicate that he's not joking. And the words of a president matters. Piers Morgan, if you're watching, please be sure to like and subscribe. But this idea that, focus on what he says, what he does, not what he says. Well, the problem is that the words of the most powerful man on earth matter. And they'd matter to you, Piers Morgan, and conservatives and centrists, if it were Democrats saying this shit, which means you are, in my opinion, morally and ethically obligated to be consistent in your principles, and means you should be bothered when Trump does it. If you're
projection, I am, sir. That's why we're here. Dilly. I'm sure conservatives won't have any values. Okay, dude.
You're not bothered when Trump does it, then I don't ever want to hear any of you bitch about anything a Democratic president ever says ever again. Because we can just say, well, it doesn't matter. Look at their actions. Of course, you would never agree to that standard, which means...
I would definitely agree to that standard because Democrats are great at talking. Horrible at policy. But
you're unprincipled hypocrites, right, who grade Trump on a curve. But I digress. Words matter.
Projection. Dilly. Nick said, words do matter. That's why we didn't like Biden saying all the dumbass things he did. Exactly. And let's take away all of the words. Let's just take Biden and Trump. Take away everything they've ever said and just look at what they do. I think Trump wins.
Never agreed to that standard, which means you're unprincipled hypocrites, right, who grade Trump on a curve. But I digress. Words matter, especially when they come from powerful people, especially when they come from the most powerful people. So
yeah. So Elon's the unelected president, but also Trump is a dictator. Make it make sense.
Let's get back to it. Representative Andy Ogles from Tennessee crafted a resolution calling for the extension of presidential term limits, which would allow Trump to seek another term in office. And indeed, he did. We've covered this in previous videos. This moron here, this dipshit loser here, who should be made fun of for the rest of his life, give President Trump a third term. Andy Ogles proposes amending the 22nd Amendment to allow Trump to serve a third term. There's also a guy who wants to rename Dulles Airport after
you mad, bro?
Donald Trump as well. So the cultishness is strong, not just in the Republican base, but among Republican elected officials.
It's interesting because, again, when I was a never Trumper, I unfortunately voted for Hillary in 2016. I learned my lesson. But I didn't know any better. And at the time, I already was saying things like, guys, we don't need to lie about Trump and blow things out of proportion. We already hate Trump. We already can see these things. All we have to do is report, look, Trump did this, Trump said that, and then everybody will automatically hate him. And look where I ended up with that mentality. It's just you're doing too much. You're doing too much. We already agree that this is bad. When you're adding in all this editorialization, it shows that you don't really care about this. You're just taking a victory lap.
Also, the cultishness is strong, not just in the Republican base, but among Republican elected officials.
Unlike the Democrats.
It's hard not to take this seriously. Meanwhile, Trump ally Steve Bannon said in an interview on News Nation that he believes Trump will, quote, run and win again in 2028. Bannon said,
and what did I say about mixed messaging?
In the same interview that he thought, quote, we'll still have a couple of alternatives in determining how Trump could seek a third term despite the 2-term maximum for holding the presidency. The White House has amplified Trump's comments, likening himself to royalty, posting a picture of a fake magazine cover depicting the president with a crown after the administration shot down congestion pricing in New York City. The White House's post to X quoted Trump's previous comments on Truth Social, long live King.
I mean, I will say that if there ever was to be a president that I supported that would do something like this, Trump is the guy because of the fact that he always has been that guy that's, made the big ask or, said these wild things. He didn't really mean it. And it was just about the reaction. Again, I think there's more weight to this than a lot of those other things, which is not okay, but doesn't mean it's not funny. Doesn't mean it's not funny to watch him squirm. Dr. Virginia said, gotta go, but keep doing your thing, bro. It's important that we stick together, especially when we don't agree. And we certainly do not agree on parts of this subject. Thank you very, very much for stopping by, brother. You have a good one. Let's dive back in here.
The White House's post to X quoted Trump's previous comments on Truth Social, long live King. So yes, Trump says he's interested in a third term.
Yeah.
And he's not joking when he says he's interested in it. He says that he has methods and strategies that he's contemplated or have been presented to him by those who have contemplated them. And so they're seriously thinking about it. But he says it's too early in this administration to really give it a lot of thought right now. Clearly, thought has been put into it, not just by Trump, but by Republican lawmakers. And Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court. Now, it's not just that. We had a poll about this back in late February. 52% say Trump will try to serve a third term. Okay.
I guess they were right.
As The Hill reported, 52% of Americans said Trump will try to serve a third term.
I would have said that.
According to a poll from YouGov. When asked if they believe Trump will attempt to serve a third term in his current role, 21% of respondents said definitely, and 31% said probably. So, majority of Americans think that he will try to do it. Another poll asked, does Donald Trump want to be king? Do you think that Donald Trump wants to be king of the United States? 49% said yes. 37% said no.
I mean, I would. Does he want to be king? Yeah. I want to be king. Who doesn't want to be king? That's a very different thing than willing to go through the whole process. But again, here we are.
50% of Americans like, yeah, he wants to be king. Interesting. Do you think that Trump should be the king of the United States? Only 7%.
Well, there you go. Exactly. A very different question. So most people are aware of the fact that Donald Trump wants to be king and still voted for him to be the highest office in the land. So they obviously don't think it's going to be that bad. So even if this does go down, I don't think it will be good in the long term. But we can't say that Trump being in office is a bad thing.
Which is about 7% too high, but 84% say no. Yet most Americans recognize that that is an ambition he has. As The Independent reports, why plans are already in motion for a Trump third term, no matter what the law says. When Trump took the oath of office again, it was the last time he'd be able to do so under the country's constitution. But that hasn't stopped his team from flirting with the idea of running again.
That's not true. Elected. And
Democrats are nowhere to be seen. Let's see. The safeguard of the two-term president
emerged. What are you skipping over there, pal? What are you skipping over?
In direct response to Franklin Delano Roosevelt's unprecedented four-term presidency during the 30s and 40s. Before Roosevelt, the informal precedent set by President Washington, stepping down after 2 terms, had been respected by every president. Today, the 22nd Amendment leaves little room for interpretation. Quote, no person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term, which some other person was elected president, shall be elected.
So we can talk about the goodness and the badness, but what we can argue about, but what's not in debate is the legality of the VP plan. That if he goes and he's the VP and the president steps down and he becomes president, that is not illegal. He has not been elected to that office.
To the office of president more than once. earlier this year. Again, it goes into what Congressman Ogles has attempted to do. Quote, no, excuse me, that was a quote from Ogles. I don't want to rot my brain. It certainly wouldn't.
I don't want to say any. Let's see. Hold on. What did you skip past?
No, excuse me.
He has proven himself to be the only figure in modern history capable of reversing our nation's decay and restoring America to greatness. And he must be given the time necessary to accomplish that goal. To that end, I am proposing an amendment to the Constitution to reverse the limitations imposed by the 22nd Amendment on presidential terms. This amendment would allow Trump to serve 3 terms, ensuring that we can sustain the bold leadership our nation so desperately needs. And again, I don't disagree with the core of that, but optics matter, opinions matter, and it's just not going to play out that way. Yeah, right. Not that to be the nominee, 0. To be the president, like 15.